And yet, those buddies of mine knew less than ordinary Russians I was encountering what was going on in terms of the Cold War, in terms of issues of geopolitics, in terms of history or whatnot. And that is something that and I wrote my book actually as an attempt to revitalize a past that not only gives you sort of cold ancient facts that are irrelevant, but teaches you strategic thinking. How do you organize? How do you inspire? Because to organize effectively, you have to have a moral sensibility that is finely honed. And the moral responsibility has to shine out of you when you talk. You're not out to engage argument, to put somebody down. And I would resort to terrible things. You know, when I tried to organize IPPNW early on, or rather PSR even earlier, I'd say, Charlie, who wouldn't join. I say, Charlie, why do you hate your children? And he would get so indignant. What the hell are you talking about with expletives, and walk away? And I said to him, if you are indifferent to your children being incinerated and irradiated and have no future, is that love or hate? And you know what happened? Not always, but frequently they came back and joined. So that moral sensibility, which has a sense of outrage in it that is driving it, has to be in the forefront. Secondly, we have to always in our movement bring in history and make it palatable. I don't know, you make it into a game or some sort of computer game or something, but make it acceptable so young people are interested, because those provide a compass for how to navigate. Because it is extraordinary and sensibility to the other. And that means for doctors especially, because I'm appalled what is happening in medicine. You know what appalls me is the failure of doctors to listen. They don't know how to listen. I mean, listening is the most complex art in medicine. There is nothing more difficult. Forget physics, chemistry. I've gone through all of that. Cellular biology, genetics, they are simple compared to the art of listening to a patient. The moment you listen, it changes the whole dynamics. It changes cost. I have rarely referred patient to any specialist. Rarely. Because 80% of the patient, I was a super specialist with a global practice. 80% of the problems I faced were the run-of-the-mill stresses and strains of living. So listening to the other, rather than wanting to talk to them. You know, people listen to you only because they are paying you a down payment, so you listen to them. Don't do that. Just listen.
Well, see, in Canada, they don't pay.
Yeah.
They pay for
lucky.
their taxes. You're reflecting on your first book, The Lost Art of Medicine.
Healing.
I'm sorry, yes. Which I've ordered, so it's on my list to read.
You know, what is interesting about The Lost Art of Healing is several things. Firstly, it was published in 1997. And it's a bestseller in Germany. It sold 50,000 copies. It went through 4 editions. It's now being published in Russia. It's coming out this month. And I just heard from Italy. They have published it in serial form in the leading journal of circulation. And they've now printed 8,000 copies to give out free to medical students and young doctors. And they have invited me to come to Rome on May 1st to talk to a huge meeting of media, television, about the lost art of healing. And if I come, they promised me a private audience with the Pope. The Pope had so much problems, I can't rescue him.
No. Touche. We have another question from a colleague.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah. My name is Case Ganem. I am past retirement age, and I enjoyed your words of wisdom. You were saying that we are all progressive intellectuals here, and the people in this room I know are, and that we have to have passion, and I think they have passion, we have passion. We speak out with passion whenever we have the chance, in prose and sometimes even in poetry. But the problem is, as you know, that the right-wing kind of war machine in this world is brainwashing people much, much faster than we can convert them to our own kind of opinions and our passion about these issues. So what are we going to do about that?
The war machine.
Oh, we have several
Another
choices.
easy question for you.
What?
Another easy question.
You people are giving me a hard time.
Yeah, no.
No easy question. Not one simple one. Well, I think that is a very cogent question. Cogent, but several things are true. What operates in our favor is history. The fact that all people alive are on our side, whether they know it or not. And the moment you realize that, and the moment you haven't got a pessimistic view, and I was born, I think, with a metabolic derangement of my brain. I'm an incorrigible optimist.
Absolutely.
But the reason I'm an optimist is because I'm a doctor. And as a doctor in my own lifetime, the first patient that I took care of as an intern was a 32-year-old woman. The year was 1946. A 32-year-old woman with two little kids who was dying from subacute bacterial endocarditis. And I knew penicillin existed, but we didn't have it in our hospital. And I watched the deaths of people from what is so ridiculous today, from acute rheumatic fever, you name it, things that were unnecessary. And I watched, if you ask yourself the fact, what was life expectancy in the United States in 1900? 50 years. Now global life expectancy, global, including sub-Saharan Africa and India and China and whatever, is 60. Life expectancy in the United States has been increased by about 30 years, roughly. And that is a progression. We don't have cannibalism. We have respect increasingly for gays. We have increasingly abusing children is off the cannibalism has disappeared. Women's rights, all those things that have happened in my lifetime gives me a sensibility that human beings are struggling all the time for a certain amount of equality. So being on the side of history rather than not being on this side, because what you said is essentially true, but that would put us opposite to historic forces, which isn't true. That's my argument. It isn't true. We are on the side of victory. We are on the side of what has to emerge, unless we screw up with nuclear war, with global warming, being indifferent to those issues, and being indifferent to the North-South divide. Because what will do us in is the North-South divide, because it's creating hopelessness. Now, look. Can you see this figure?
Yes.
This is a champagne glass with a narrow stand. What it shows is the bottom 20%. I don't know if you could see that. The bottom 20% account for 1.4% of the world income. The next 20% from 1.9%. The next 20%